I'm not sure how to put it into the chat room. So if you have any questions that we don't have time to get to at the end, or you ever want to talk about football, we got lots of time right now. There's not a lot going on, so I would appreciate a call, and we can talk a little bit of football. Okay, go through the stats, but guys, in the past 5 years, we've averaged 7.8 yards a carry. That's 5 years. That's including national championship games, playoff games. That's probably close to 50, 55 games over the last 5 years. And we've averaged 300 rushing yards per game over a 5-year time period. So, I want to talk a little bit about the run game. I mean, certainly, we throw the football, but our offense is built around establishing the run game and then the play action pass that comes off of that. The importance of the run game, first of all, it's not totally quarterback dependent. There's years that you have an outstanding quarterback and you can throw the ball and you got a couple really good receivers. In university football, we'll go through, where we have a Chris Merchant, who was our starting quarterback for 4 years. And then we turn over that quarterback and we may have to play with a freshman, or that quarterback gets injured in a game and we have to put someone else in. I mean, if you can run the football, you're not completely quarterback dependent, and it makes for a consistent season, year in and year out. Easier for the quarterback coverage reads. I know you guys, had the coach on here a couple weeks ago that talked about double tights. Same principle. It makes it easier for the quarterback reads. The coverages are a lot simpler. You're going to get some type of run defend coverage where you get guys closer to the box. Linebackers are going to be closer, opens up level 2 for you. Teams can execute offensively despite weather conditions, because there's been great teams that have been outstanding in September, but sometimes in November, when you're playing the most important games, and in Canada, that we work on execution all year long, and then we get into a game in November for the championship, and the wind's blowing, sideways, and it's starting to rain, and it's difficult to throw the football. So you need to be able to run the football, and if you're going to do it, you got to make sure that it's something that you've practiced and implemented into your offense. Reduce the turnovers. Okay, run game installation. When starting the run game, we start by installing a base play in both a gap scheme and a zone scheme that you're going to be able to execute efficiently and effectively versus all defensive stunts and blitzes. And then we can vary the different blocking schemes with similar points of attack. We can use motion, formations, all those other things, and start to build our offense around a couple base plays. A gap scheme play and a zone scheme play. Our gap scheme blocking is basically, it involves a backside gap responsibility and a kick out or a seal block at the point of attack. Example would be, the power, any counters that you run, counter traps, any traps are all examples of gap type blocking schemes. And then influence in the point of attack defender with motion and formation. Okay, this would be an example of our base power out of the gun. We can run it under center. We've been in the gun for probably most of the past 5 years. We can go through some of the blocking scheme a little bit later. You guys are probably pretty familiar with it. There's a lot of intricate parts with it. That's our base power play. We've got inside gap responsibilities. So the right tackle is responsible for the front side B gap. The right guard is responsible for the front side A gap. The center is responsible for the backside A gap. The backside tackle is responsible for the backside B gap. And usually either a hinge or, he's sifting back up onto the will. And, it depends. Our quarterback is going to try to boot out of it to try to hold that backside in or hold that backside contained player. Our zone blocking involves front side gap responsibility and using a variety of ways to neutralize the unblocked defender. An example of our zone blocking would be an inside zone, outside zone, or a split zone. I'm going to go through those if I get a chance at the end. So what scheme? I mean, it varies from year to year. I would say we probably at Western are maybe 60% gap type plays and 40% zone type plays. But a lot depends too on the personnel that you have. And that if you have big, strong offensive linemen that can move people off the football, then you can make it a little simpler. You don't have to run 30 different plays. You can run inside zone. 2 years ago, well, 3 years ago, we didn't play last year. In 2018, we played University of Saskatchewan in a national semifinal, and we went in that game with probably at least 40 different running plays, to our quarterback, our slot backs, our fullback, our running back, tons of different ways that we're running the football. They had one running play. Now they changed the formation. They did a few different things with it, but they had basically one running play, and it was effective. It was a zone play. They sometimes bounced it out, cut it back. They had a great running back at the time, but very, very strong, big offensive line that could move people off the football. Sometimes gap blocking schemes allow you to use your positioning where you can, wall people off with down blocks, pull people if your offensive linemen are quick, and be able to either kick out or secure or seal the point of attack. Example of our base inside zone play. Point of attack is probably going to be on the inside hip of the right guard if we're running it to the right. Our quarterback is going to read the backside end, and then we're probably going to have some type of route combination off the backside. So it gives him a run pass option if that end crashes. Okay. Here's some concepts and considerations in developing the run game. Vary the play with formation and motion. So to be able to run the same play with a variety of formations and motions to try to get a numbers advantage in the box. And I think everything that we do in the run game and the pass game is we're trying to get leverage on the defense. We're trying to get some type of advantage, leverage, numbers, all right, to the point of attack where we're running the football. And so to disguise the play, it's good to make sure that you do it out of different motions and formations. Formations and motions that you run other plays with and that you run pass plays with and play action passes with, that you keep those formation and motions, a variety of them, all right, to make sure you can confuse the defense. We played in a playoff game a couple years ago where every time this team ran this specific motion, they ran a specific play. Makes it very, very easy for the defense, all right, to know what's coming. So we want to make sure in everything we do, we constrain the time that the defense has to be able to determine what the play is and what the responsibility is and where they're supposed to be. And we can change those things with our formation and our motions. To change the play without changing the blocking scheme. How can we make a change with a simple install? And so a lot of times we'll run a similar type blocking scheme, but change the ball carrier. So it's a slot back who's adding into the play, but it's the same blocking scheme for the offensive line. And so even though our point of attack on our zone plays is going to vary, and some of our point of attacks on our gap schemes are going to vary, a lot of the basic principles are the same. So our power play, is basically someone's kicking out a man at the end man on the line of scrimmage, and then someone is pulling, all right, to pick up that overhang linebacker, and then that puller is going to read the block of the fullback at the point of attack. If we're running a counter, let's say a GT counter, or you pull the center and tackle, the center is now the kick out block on a counter. all right? And that backside guard or the backside tackle is now going to read the block at the kick at the point of attack. If we get a seal, all right, then we're going to work around and look for leverage to kick out the contain man. If we get a box player who comes up field and squeezes us, we know we're going to kick it out and try to jam that play up inside, up into the B gap. We use trips a ton, okay? Probably because it's easy for me to figure out, okay? When I only have one receiver on the backside to know it's easier for me to count than when there's two over there, okay? But we try to isolate our best receiver and see if the defense is prepared to leave him alone with no help. Okay, so find our best receiver, put him in the boundary receiver position and see what kind of help he's going to get. So, and that help might be the position of the boundary corner who's going to play it off on him, 8 to 10 yards because he's afraid he's going to get run by. And then he's given us those short quick outs or quick stop routes or quick slant routes. So isolate your best receiver, get him out there and see if the defense will leave him alone. If they give him help, it's going to force the Sam out of the box now to help on the number 3 receiver to the strong side. Now the Sam might try not come all the way out and cover that receiver. He might try to apex, what we call split the difference between the tackle and that position to get leverage. But in that position, we can run some different route combinations to take advantage of Sam out of the box. Now Sam starts to come out of the box, then they're light in the box, and then they're going to have to get a help with the free safety. And you know what? Ultimately, it's better receiver spacing on a Canadian field than balanced 2x2. You got more space to the field. It's better spacing for our route combinations. If we go 3x1, not that we don't go 1x3 and put 3 guys into the boundary, we will. And all of those things we'll do in order to gain some type of leverage or advantage on the defense based on what their reaction to our formations is. Okay, this would be an example of a trips alignment versus the halfback over. So the weak side halfback comes over with your boundary slot, RW in this case, and we know that if we want to run the football, we're going to try to run the football weak. Okay, I mean, we only have one block. The blocker, the X is going to our boundary wide receiver is going to block the boundary corner. Okay. I'm going to take my chances with that one block, and in a lot of cases, because he's locked up in coverage, they may play some type of different coverage to the field, but we know versus HBO what we're getting into the boundary. And so it's easy for us, our X, sometimes to just be able to run the boundary corner off. Okay. And now, right now we're in pretty good position. All right. Less players to have to make a block. And our receivers work on blocking. You can imagine. I mean, if you don't block as a receiver, you're not going to play in our offense. I won't say that. Sometimes there's some guys that are so good at receiver, we can make exceptions. But for the most part, our receivers need to block. But I'm certainly not going to trust the fact that we have 3 receivers blocking 3 defenders to the field. And if I have my choice, we're going to run the ball into the boundary. If we get, some type of roll where the backside halfback stays, okay, now we're going to look to, run the ball to the field side, okay, where our W can block the Sam linebacker, or if the Sam linebacker apexes or stays more in the box, then we're going to run some route to the field. And so in a lot of our RPOs, we're looking at pre-snap reads to determine if it's going to be a run to the boundary, a run to the field, or a pass. Okay, so we'll have post-snap RPOs too, but a lot of them it's up there. This is the play. I heard Coach Samara's talk a few weeks ago. Lots of times we use one word to describe, all of this, and it's got 3 checks in it that are all going to be, pre-snap checks that our quarterback is going to come up and say, all right, this is the play. All right. He'll either kill the call, all right, which automatically turns it into a pass, or he'll flip it to it's a run strong. So he's basically has 3 options: keep the play on and run the ball into the boundary weak, throw the ball, all right, strong, okay, or run the ball strong. I mean, you could have an option where in a lot of our RPOs, we're looking at isolating that boundary X receiver, but in a lot of our pre-snap RPOs, we're going to look at those three alignments and options. With our run game, we're going to try to attack the defense across a broad front with a multiple point of attack with similar pre-snap looks. Limit the amount of recognition time that the defense has. So even though we're going to mix up our formations and our motions, if we can limit the amount of recognition time that the defense has, because everything looks the same, it looks like it's going to be a power play, and then all of a sudden, it turns into a counter play. So try to attack the defense across a broad front, okay, various points of attack with similar pre-snap and even post-snap, as long as we can hold it. Okay. This is the big one: unblocked defenders. Okay. I mean, the box and who's the unblocked defender and how is he going to be accounted for? How many unblocked defenders are there? Are there more than one? I mean, when I played fullback, and when I played fullback, there was a period of 20 years where our fullbacks at Western were the leading ball carriers. That we had several Crichton winners at fullback. Tim Tyndale that went on to play with the Buffalo Bills, a fullback, and our fullback carried the ball 60-70% of the time. The problem with the fullback carrying the ball, if you're going to line up with the fullback, you're going to have a 7-man box at least, and now you're going to have 2 unblocked defenders. Yeah, you can use your tailback to try to influence it with some type of pitch motion, but you could try to have them block. But I think if you got a 230-pound fullback and 160-pound tailback, you know who the blocker is going to be. So our fullback once in a while carries the ball on some quick hitter or short yardage plays, but for the most part, he's a blocker first and a pass receiver out of the backfield off play action second. So, we typically see a 7-man box. We play with a fullback all the time. Sometimes we play with 2 fullbacks. If we do, then we'll see some type of 8-man box. We need to make adjustments if we're seeing 6 or 8-man boxes. And sometimes even with just one fullback, we'll see an 8-man box, the safety coming down into the box. And at that point, you got to be able to throw the football. Okay. Trying to run the ball into an 8-man box with just one blocker is difficult. Same with the 6-man. If we see a light box on passing downs, we're not afraid to run the ball in second and long versus a 6-man box. So, who can come up and effectively stop the run from where they're aligned? If that safety starts to creep down where he's within 7 or 8 yards, then we're going to start thinking that he is, going to turn into a box defender. So how do we account for the unblocked defender? Well, one of the things we do is add a receiver in from outside the box. We'll motion a receiver to block a defender in the box. This will force the defense to add a defender in, someone that is not used to playing in the box, to defend and support the run. In this clip, I think we're running Bronco. We're cracking. We're bashing or cracking on that. Let me just. Okay. Our X is coming down and he is going to bash, all right, on that will linebacker. So gap scheme, fullbacks motioning. Oh, so we got to see that one more time. We motion our fullback all the time because we want to see how teams are playing our fullback. Are they going to track our fullback? And so are they going to take one of their linebackers and run back and forth with them? Are they going to bump across and have their linebackers bump? Now you're getting your Sam in the box who might be more of a pass defensive guy. Or are they going to roll the coverage, try to keep that and roll back down into it? Okay, so we see all different scenarios. It changes all the time. Usually teams that start a game tracking will track most of the game, but we want to make sure that our fullback is always moving so that our receiver who's cracking or bashing into the play knows who he's going to take, because most likely he's going to take the tracker. If they're bumping, then he's going to take the first linebacker in the bump. Okay, this is just a power play. Wellspring and a couple guys off the edge, and we're going to add our slot back from our trips alignment into the boundary to cut off one of the blockers. We know our quarterback, so we're not going to take a chance on short yardage with our quarterback trying to hold that guy with bootleg action or naked action. So our base power play, we're going to do a double team with the front side guard and tackle. Fullback's going to kick the end squeezes, guard pulls around. We're sealing down inside. Motion receiver across the ball to try to influence a defender. Here's our motion across, see if we can get someone to go with them. We'll try to go quick, guys, because they're probably going to run out of time soon. Okay, sometimes when we motion, we're not sure if the defensive end on a gap scheme like Bronco, which is our counter with our offensive lineman and fullback, if we're not sure if the guy's going to squeeze or if he's going to box. If we run this motion here, what essentially we're doing is making it look like we're going to add in and we're going to cut that defender off like we would on a front side zone play or a front side power play. And then we know he's probably going to squeeze because he's going to feel that block. And so now we know our first puller is going to be a seal block, and then our fullback knows he's going to go outside of it. So it takes away some of the guesswork. And if you can see this, our slot back adds in like he's going to seal off that end, influence him, then turn back, get the ball outside. You'll see it better on the end cut. So take this, the weak defensive end, influence them like we're going to come down and block them with the slot back and then turn back out. B gap blocker. We get a Will backer in the gap. He takes it. Fullback probably should have pulled through for the Mac because the Mac was unblocked because our deuce had to pick up the Will. Use our W or another position as the ball carrier. So sometimes we'll add our running back in as a blocker, or we'll get him out to pull someone out of the box. This is a Y counter where our field slot back's coming in. For the offensive line, it's the same. Okay. We got a kick out of the point of attack and a pull through. Have the quarterback read the unblocked defender with the option of pulling the ball to run or throw. All right, this is an example of our two fullback set. One, right off the bat, we're going to read and say, do they HBO with the motion? Okay, do they bring someone over when that Y comes across? Or do they take the Will out of the box? And that's the first read for the quarterback. The second read is that's kind of that pre-snap read. The post-snap read is going to be, what does the end do? Because if the end comes upfield on me right away, I'm going to have to give the football. There was a time we put this play in the first year. I don't think, it was difficult to stop it. Mostly because we ran the ball pretty effectively on it. Okay, so then, having an RPO where the quarterback reads the unblocked defender with the option of pulling the ball to throw. Usually the linebacker in the box, either the front side, if you're reading the front side, or the back side. I think Jeff talked about this last week. Pre-snap read. Okay, pre-snap read. Yeah, we hope to get that slant by the boundary X receiver, but the corner's playing hard inside. We know pre-snap, it's automatically going to go into some type of slant go route, all right, because he can't get inside leverage on him. Okay, in this case, we're going to read the will. Now, if we're pretty confident that Laurier would roll that half with that jet sweep motion, but if he had stayed, okay, all right, then we're giving the football. Play action pass. Influence the box players with run fakes. Attack the zone behind the linebackers level 2 with run action. And a lot of guys, a lot of our RPOs, sometimes we just switch them into play action passes that we're going to take the read out of the quarterback, and it looks like a run. It's blocked exactly like a run. We're blocking with the counter. We're pulling the uncovered offensive lineman. We're pulling the fullback, and but we're throwing the football. But we run block in our play action pass. We run block. We just got to make sure we don't get linemen too far downfield. Influence the box defenders with counters and bootleg action. Slower delay the reaction of the unblocked defender with away from the initial action. Okay, this is an example of our goal line power. We tend to, going into this game, be pretty run heavy, that we would almost always run the ball to what we called our H-back here. Now he's motioning and back, and both fullbacks are back pulling through. So we pull the lineman, pull both fullbacks through, just off of our power play on short yardage. Quarterback run, and we got lots of ways that our quarterback runs, and quite honestly, it's there a lot. We probably don't run our quarterback as much in the regular season, but sometimes in playoffs and big games, we'll run our quarterback more. If your quarterback, and Murch was a good runner, but he wanted to run the football. He was a willing runner, and I think that's the most important thing. We've had quarterbacks who've been outstanding runners, and we've had ones that have just been average, but we'll still run the quarterback because of the difficulty that the defense has. So we have the ability to block everyone in the box when the quarterback runs. This is against Laval. I think it was one of the Vanier Cup in 2018. In this play, because Laval was tracking the fullback, so it made it difficult to run the quarterback if we pulled the fullback. So what we did is we pulled the one offensive lineman and then added the running back through the hole. Running back off the fake. It was the passing down. They were light in the box, so it made it a lot easier. Utilize, reverses or, naked quarterback runs to slow the defense. We know Laurier is going to track the fullback. So if that backside end doesn't stay, all right, then we're going to pull it. And it's something that we're just looking every time. So when we go into a game, every one of our offensive coaches has a position that they look at on every single play. And I don't want, our coaches, looking at just the ball carrier. Someone's looking at the backside end. Someone's looking at, the safety, what he does. And so give a responsibility for every one of your coaches on every single play, and to chart it so we can figure out what they're doing defensively. Okay, have line of scrimmage checks to be able to change a play versus a specific defensive alignment. Okay, we use hard counts, 2 play calls, change of direction. In this play, this would be one of those package plays against trips. Okay, so right away, is the halfback over? If the halfback comes over, then we're running our run play into the boundary. If that halfback stayed, okay, then we were going to, and the Sam stayed in the box, we're going to run some type of 3-man route combination to the field. If Sam apexed or went out and covered up, then we're going to run the ball, right, to the field side. Okay, so our 3 options here. Quarterback reads it. The play is on, okay, which is counter Bronco weak. Okay, so our wanted to get to the end cut here. Basically, the end man of the line of scrimmage pinched and squeezed and cut our puller. So then our fullback is going to come over the top. You see it on the end cut. Fullback's always going to motion. Sorry, guys. For some reason, I'm not getting that end cut. Okay, we have blocking calls and adjustments that we make on all our plays. Every run play has a strength. Every run play has a weakness and an adjustment. We work on calls and blocking adjustments that cover every possible defensive scheme or any type of blitz or stunt. Peter, how am I doing for time?
You're good. I think I'd have 150 angry coaches if I stopped you here.
Okay. All right. So we work on ball exchange. I'll go through this stuff pretty, quickly, but before we start practices, so most of our practices start with our specialists on the field, and that's our holders, our centers, and kickers are out in the field 15 minutes, 20 minutes before everyone else. We expect that our quarterbacks and running backs and centers are on the field at that same time. And we spend 15, 20 minutes before practice even starts with 4 or 5 different, centers snapping. So, and quarterbacks and running backs, as many as we can, working on center, quarterback mesh and exchanges. Work on ball security, something that we work on every single day. We do drills on ball security. Our offensive line and our fullbacks spend a lot of time working together so they're working on, both zone blocking schemes and gap blocking schemes. Our fullback is a very important position in our offense, and he has maybe one of the most difficult positions because his assignment will change based on what the defense is doing. Perimeter blocking the perimeter, and our crack blocking and add-in blocking and stock blocking. This is our W drill, what we do. And my video doesn't work for this, so I'm trying to explain to you is that we have basically this W here, a shoot that we have 10 yards between an offensive lineman and a defensive lineman, a linebacker and a running back, and a defensive back and a receiver. And so at the snap of the football, all right, then everyone is moving and we hand the ball off, and then we have a coach at every position looking for holding, and we're working on our stock blocking down here, okay, our dry blocking here. So it's like the Okie, but it's a little bit more to it. And once they're by you, then you're done. We don't have guys chasing from behind and making the tackles from behind. We usually have a couple shoots on the go. We do this in training camp and in spring training. We don't, we don't do a lot of contact. Quite honestly, guys, we do very, very little contact during the week in the regular season. We're only on pads on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays is just helmets, and Fridays is just light. but to work on fundamentals and to evaluate, people and to teach live blocking, this is a good drill. Towel drill, we do it with our offensive line, we do it with our running backs, we do it with our receivers every single day. And basically a coach throwing the towel out, we go to the stock, and now he's got to adjust to the defender. He doesn't know what side the towel is going to. Go out, we break down. And then we adjust and try to get squared up on them. Again, video didn't work on that for some reason. Just want to go through this, and there's a lot of stuff here. One of our big plays is split zone, and one of the reasons we run it a lot is it's great for play action. We don't want to run those RPOs where our backside tackle has to step out and block the defensive end, because we don't run the ball like that. When we're going to run the ball in inside zone, 90% of the time, our backside tackle is sifting up to the will linebacker off a double team with the backside guard. So split zone allows us to, block that backside end with the fullback. And now we need to push or plug and designate who is the unblocked linebacker. So we need to know, is the defense going to adjust by bumping, or are they going to track? Are they going to run the guy across the formation, or are they going to roll? So when we played Laval in the Vanier Cup, they decided to track, and they took their Sam linebacker, who was the outstanding defensive player in the country and all Canadian, and he didn't make any tackles because he was always tracking our fullback on split zone, all right, thinking he was going to be in position to stop our counter or our powers or any of those other gap schemes. But he was always kind of in not a very good position because he was tracking across. And then we know if we get a tracker, then we are going to plug to the Mac and Will. And then if we bash or we burn with our inside receivers, we know who we're going to. We're going to add in to the guy who's tracking. It's pretty obvious. Our fullback's going to motion him, see that he's tracking, come across the formation, and then we know who we're going to bash or burn. Okay. This is kind of the basis of our split zone play. We run it out of gun. We run it out of pistol. I like it out of pistol because it gives us a longer play action when we want to run play action. And this is one of our blocking schemes that we run play action out of. And if we're going to run play action, we are actually telling our offensive line, you block like we're running 42 sword. Okay. 42 sword with a bash by the Y coming in on the Sam. If we know we're bashing, then we know, all right, okay, that we got to work a plug, all right, to the Mac and Will. If we got to burn, we know we're burning from the backside onto the unblocked defender. We know we're pushing to the Sam and the Mac. Okay. But then, sometimes we'll bash with the Z and run it out of trips, and our Z will be the guy that comes down and he bashes, or we have our X come in motion and he bashes or he burns on the W. So it depends on what the play call is. And we have different players, different formations, different guys adding into the box. And then every single one of these plays with bash and burn has some type of play action pass or RPO off of it. Yeah, this video is not working either. Okay, there's lots more there. you guys would be here to midnight. I want to keep going, but like I said, if you have any questions, give me a shout. Email me. We can set up a time to call. We can do it. I'm getting better at Zoom now, so we could set up a Zoom call, and I can get our video guy to, load some film up, and we can watch some film if you want to get some of your coaches together. Again, we've got lots of time, so we're not doing much of anything else. So I appreciate it. Peter, I appreciate you inviting me on here. It's great that your coaches are taking the time to get better, and let's just hope that, we stay well and we're back playing this fall.